Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order on April 1st, 2025. Call, please, Mr. Abrams.
Mr. Bacon.
Present.
Mr. Berkey. Mr. Costa.
Present.
Mr. Erboldinger. Mr. Fosbrink.
Present.
Mr. Lawrence.
Present.
President Martin.
Present.
Mayor Porco.
Thank you. We're going to move on then to the public comment. At this time, citizens may address council on any issue, whether appearing on today's agenda or not. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Forest Hills will be permitted to address council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before council, who may speak for a maximum of 10 minutes. Citizens are asked to use the microphone at the speaker's stand, clearly state their name and address for the record, and keep comments brief and to the point. And please spell the name for the record. Speakers are reminded that council uses these comment periods as opportunities to gather information and not to respond directly to concerns raised. Information gathered will not be discussed at the business meeting, but instead will be referred by the council president to the appropriate committee for review and discussion at the meeting. I think we have someone that wants to come up and address council.
Thank you for letting us go first. Hi, everybody. My name's Mike. I want to introduce Cynthia Wallace and Karen Lyons. They're running for the school. Not running. My term will end. Monte,
Could you give us your address too, just for the record?
237 Avenue A.
Thank you so much.
I am Cynthia Wallace, CYNTHIAWAL. And I live at 11 Carmel Court. So I have been a resident of Forest Hills for the last 21 years. I have been an elementary school teacher, elementary and middle school principal for 17 years, most recently in the Pittsburgh Public Schools, have taught in schools of education here and in Michigan, where I'm from, Flint, Michigan originally, and just feel like I would like to serve our district as a director. Lots of experience. My children are all out of the house. And I think the thing that saddens me most is that we have neighbors that when their children get old enough to go to school, they move out of our district. And so I am really concerned about just improving the quality of our schools. I think that every child deserves an excellent quality public education. And I think that the Woodland Hills School is amazing. And we just need to make sure that it is good for all of the children. So again, thank you for letting me speak, and have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
Lyon, that's Karen, K-A-R-E-N. Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. Brett
can't speak.
Kills.
Oh, so I can't speak at all?
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, so it's a new.
It's just for residents and
And that's
taxpayers.
fine, but you see my face and you know who I am.
Thank you, and good luck, ladies. Okay, then, public comment is over. We'll move on. I have no remarks this evening. So moving on to ops and policy, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe that the agenda is very limited. I think I can pass that along to. Thank you.
As has been previously discussed with council and is in your packets, we do have a few positions on advisory commissions, advisory councils and commissions that actually expired. Folks are at this point continuing until council makes a decision. But the motions for that we'd be looking to do at the business meeting are reappointment recommendations for Marcus Erbaldinger to the Civil Service Commission, Tara Stein Bondarenka to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Council. That was just a note that where we had reduced the number of voting members and some other folks had voted to step back to an advisory role so that she could maintain an active role. Myron Lewis to the Zoning Hearing Board and Jackie Dempsey to the Vacancy Board. There's also a new appointment due to Ms. Diaz Rodriguez not being able to complete her term for the Environmental Advisory Commission, Advisory Council, and that is for Kimberly Carter Fink. And her information is in the packet.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yes,
Mr. Bioki?
but it's never come up before, so what's the,
Normally, that is actually done in the January of election years, but apparently it was not done in January of 2024, which is why her term actually would only technically run until the end of this calendar year. And council would need to, during its reorganization meeting, reappoint or appoint a new vacancy chair. And that person only takes a role in the event that council needs to fill a vacancy and fails to do so on its own.
Any other questions or comments?
To the new candidate. Good to me.
There is one other piece that I'd like to bring up that we discussed in ops and policy today that
Yes,
did not
thank
make it
you.
on. In the business packet will also be recommendations for hiring of the lifeguards for the summer, which I believe council is used to. So that slate was finalized today, and that will be sent out to council members. As it is, council does have the responsibility to make final approval on all hires.
Yes,
Yeah, I have a question. We talked a while ago about a social media policy that, are we still working on that, or where are we with
we
it?
have a completed social media policy.
I thought we were reviewing it.
Last time we reviewed.
Okay, are you remembering that?
There were
And
4 things that were approved. Yes, Ms. Bayoki.
what I believe Mr. DeCrost is recalling was that we discussed, we have a policy, but there were some issues that were brought up are there other social media accounts that we might be interested in pursuing, such as some other social media accounts? And that is beyond, I mean, it's not really a policy, it's just whether or not we want to do that. And that would be something that I believe Mr. Abrams would make some recommendation to council on.
The communications policy includes a statement that we may participate in particular social media accounts. Basic decision to do that. Okay. I guess I can pass along. I did meet with, this is a little off, but since I'm on the board, I did meet, the board of directors met, for WEMS last month. I suggested the ideas that I spoke to you folks about it, and they quite receptive and have already created a committee to try to design something to bring to the Jan Wilkins. Hopefully their goal would be sometime in early summer. Very receptive to it. That's all I have to pass along.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Then moving on to the Finance Committee. Mr. Fosbrink, is there anything under Finance?
You know what? I was not prepared to speak on this, so I don't. Mr. Abrams has something to remind me of that I am not thinking of.
The only real update, which is kind of always one of the nice points, is that tax revenues are coming in pretty steadily right now. We get them about every other week right now during the height of the period. So cash flow is looking good. That does not mean that go on a spending spree, but cash flow, we had some initial concerns whether or not how well we'd make it through the first quarter. We survived, money's coming in. We can, relaxing for about a month.
Just 1 month, yeah.
Yep. On the budget for real.
All right, very good. Does that finish?
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fosbrink and Mr. Abrams. Moving on to Borough property, Mr. Bacon.
Thank you. Mr. DeCrosta, would you mind leading from the room, please?
No, not at all.
Thank you.
So on the agenda, we have, the change order to add acoustic wall changes between council chambers and the community room. Apparently we're supposed to vote on this tonight because there's been some changes that you relayed to us, Mr. Abrams, right?
Correct. I'm asking that this be voted on tonight just because we received a change order amount to finish the work and the crew is available starting on the August or April 7th. So if we want to make sure that we can get it scheduled and done inside of a week, this is something that does have some timeliness to it. The price wouldn't change, but the availability of when it may be done can't be guaranteed. It was advertised appropriately, so it would just be a motion unless.
Does anyone have any comments on that? Is everyone in favor or not?
Somebody does need to make a motion to approve the change order.
The change order.
Second.
Second? Thank you.
Well, we do need a vote.
Okay, now we do need a voice vote.
I mean, we don't need a roll call.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then the motion passes. Is that it then for borough property?
Yes, that's all we have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. DeCrosta, anything for planning and zoning?
Nothing official, just keeping the council updated on some of the projects. Moment, working on the Westinghouse site, seeing how we can maybe move that to a new situation. And also, trying to help the owner of Drew's move that property into something that we all deem as acceptable. Of course, the Cosman buildings are on my mind constantly, but nothing is currently moving with that. So some bigger projects, but moving very slowly. That's all I have to.
Thank you, Mr. DeCrosta. Public Works, Mr. Fosbrink.
Madam President, I just want to say before we get to the engineer's report that on 3/26, I had the opportunity to meet with Mike Smith and our Public Works team. Entire operation that we have going on, and I'll tell you, way more expansive than I thought it was, just as a regular resident. So obviously, lots of work happening there. And Mike did tell me that officially our park's open April 1st, which is today. So I know they were putting in a lot of work to get everything ready, and there'll be a lot more work over the next few weeks. But we're trying to figure out how I can be more beneficial to them and with Mr. Abrams, perhaps in the technology field to help get some of this software set up. May I ask for the engineer's report?
Few things listed in our report: Avenue D, storm sewer, contract. The sanitary line is in good condition. The storm line, however, is not. Did provide over a cost what it would take to 2025 road programs out the bid right now. It's going to open up April 9th. Ardmore Boulevard and Avenue A. Borough staff and us met with the contractor. There's quite a few punch list items that remain on that, so. items are addressed. Woodside Road storms, same contractor, just restoration and punch list items remain for that. Ashley Court and Ardmore Drive sewer, that project, the project's complete, punch list items are done, so we're coordinating final change order, final payment to the contractor on that. Those are sort of the main ones to touch base then on the public works front.
Does anyone have any questions for Public Works? Yes.
Ardmore Boulevard and Avenue A.
Technically, that whole project that runs from Ardmore, it actually runs from Ardmore Boulevard, pretty much actually right where the park and ride is. So technically it's Avenue B all the way up to the intersection at Avenue AB. So that was one project, and that is where the punch list items and the payment holds are taking place. They have not. There has been some, I believe, disagreement on some of the responsibility from the water main breaks and other issues, which is why there's an extensive punch list and payments are being held. I have spoken with one of the residents the end of last week, and actually just this week am creating a page on our website with project updates that actually include the status of projects, which in this case, the work is in the punch list phase with final repairs to sidewalks and private property standing items. Till we can engage in meaningful dialogue. Factor, I don't know when that will be completed.
Anything else? That's all we have, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Fosbrink. Moving on then to public safety, Mr. Bioki.
Thank you, President Martin. I have no motions or actions for consideration for the agenda. But I will ask if Chief Williams has anything he'd like to bring up.
I just wanted to mention, I've seen some things on certain media sites about people speeding on Ardmore, and I just want to let you, the officers have been out on Ardmore. They've been passing out some tickets to people. So again, we can't be there consistently on a daily basis, every hour on the hour. So I just want to let people know that we are out there and we are ticketing people, and we are out there with our vehicles stopping people. I mean, speaking right now, there's actually an aggressive driver detail going on right now. So again, it happens a lot, and we do it at random times. And we can't always be there when we have some event going on that, by the time we hear about it from 911, we're not going to be there in time, especially if they're going very quickly.
Thank you, Chief Williams. I'm sorry, Mr. Lawrence.
Just to support the chief, was at a neighborhood gathering last Sunday, and it was specifically brought to my attention that a couple people were extremely happy to see tickets being passed out. So your work is not going unnoticed. Thank you.
Do we have any engineering report regarding public safety?
So for the public works, or the public steps and walkways responded under an LSA grant, contractors anticipating to mobilize this month. First, the borough also received another $200,000 grant for multimodal transportation. To be a continuation of that current project for the stairs. We met with borough staff and sort of reviewing priorities and scoping on that. I had a note in here. I sort of apologize. I'm not sure what road it's going on, but we're working on an HOP permit for a traffic for a speed limit sign that's solar powered. So we're currently working through the HOP process.
Or an expected date when that might be reviewed?
For that HOP permit, I mean, we'll have it in here early April, and then NDOT has 30-day window that they have to provide comments, but and on the complexity of it, which this one isn't, they comments quicker than 30 days.
Okay, thank you. That concludes public safety.
Thank you, Mr. Bioki. Is there any old business? Any new business?
Madam President, may
Yes.
I ask a question just as a new person here on how we work together to coordinate things? This is more because I met with Mike in Public Works and he gave me a wonderful tour around the borough. And part of that was visiting some of our playgrounds. So playgrounds, I assume, fall under borough property works because Public Works maintains them, but it's borough property. So speaking of parks in particular, he showed me the park that is behind the plaza on Ardmore Boulevard. I forget the name of it. Mr. Abrams, do you remember? It's something like Cliff View, Cliffside, Cliff Heights, something park. I don't know if any of you have ever been up there, but it's like you have to access it through someone's parking lot, driveway.
I know where you mean.
It just seems like there's one piece of playground equipment there that hasn't been touched in decades. I'm just wondering if someone could give me a little advice on how we coordinate things between each other or what to talk about those things.
I actually don't think it's been in use for several years.
I'm just bringing it up because it seems like there might be a much bigger discussion about that other than what do we want to do with that park? Mr. Abrams, I apologize.
So as it's under borough property, but it also falls under Parks and Recreation. So Mr. Reamer is aware of that and he was actually brought it up to me. It may or may not have been a result of
Could be.
conversation he had with Mike or whatever else, but he is currently working and also trying to work with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Council on a parks master plan where we, along is to make sure that equipment is updated appropriately. If it's unsafe, removed, if it needs to be replaced. But yeah, that's part of as many things here, newer but ongoing project.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Abrams, but in terms of procedure, Mr. Fosberg can bring it up in committee, right? We can discuss it, decide if anything needs to go on the agenda, and also pull in Mr. Reamer into the conversation, right? I think that's what you're asking, right, Rick?
Right, I just,
Yeah.
because it seems like under Public Works, Mike and I could have a conversation of what they're doing to maintain it.
Yeah,
But obviously, we would need to decide if it's a place that needs more investment or not more sources. So knowing that we're working on developing a parks master plan, perfect in my opinion, that's great. But I guess just the general question was, would I reach out to Ian as borough property and say, this was brought up from Mike Smith. Is this something we should tackle together to come up with a plan?
Yeah, I think the short answer, that's what you're getting at.
Right.
You come across something that seems appropriate to ops and policies, you give me a call or
Yep.
you talk to the president of council and ask, where does this belong? Because the
Okay.
president of council usually is the one that sends them along. So you can call me or whoever it is and say, do you think this falls under this? But again, it's the council president will decide.
Just wanted to make sure that I'm doing the right things.
If I can chime in on that one, I think that is something where we are working towards that strategic plan with the Parks and Recs board. And that is a process that I think we're all sort of learning and try to more formalize and really make sure they have direction from council on what we're looking for. And so and get back more response and planning from them. So it is a difficult chicken and egg situation in many cases, I think, as we all are trying to get the relationship and sort of process with these various boards and most appropriate committees in a bit more understandable flow. So definitely second your thought on that, and also I'm happy to discuss further.
Thank you.
So it sounds like we're working with Mr. Reamer and the rec board, as well as Mr. Abrams and Mr. Bacon. Anyone else? I saw two hands.
Oh, just for the record, it's Cliffwood Park.
Cliffwood, thank you. Mr. DeCosta?
I also have a procedural question, and I'm still trying to get my head around this new structure that we created in the new year. So and on this, if I'm not thinking about this correctly, but we're in an agenda setting meeting right now. Next week, we meet in committee, and then we go to the business meetings, correct? Doesn't it make more sense to have the agenda setting meeting after the committee meetings? So the committees have discussed what they want to discuss, we decide what's going to go on the agenda, and then have our business meeting? Or am I
think-
not understanding it correctly?
I think what happened with that is based on people's schedules who were assigned to different committees, it just happened that sometimes it's not that easy. I know what you
You
mean.
know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
seems out of order. And so I don't know discussing here in terms of creating an agenda when we haven't discussed the topics in committee yet.
Mr. Bioki?
Yeah, just for clarification, we discussed that before we started this, and that we knew we were going to be out of step. So the first cycle brought us through.
Yeah.
So actually, we're sort of caught up. It seems like we're not, but we are. If you know what I mean.
To give a specific example, public safety is going to meet next week. Whatever public safety may decide on or want to bring forward will then be brought up at the agenda meeting, or at the May agenda meeting, I'm sorry, because you're meeting in the middle of the month. The next agenda meeting would be May, and any motions would be voted on or further in the May meeting.
Mr. Bacon, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to second Joe's feelings where I agree that I think the structure is good, but it is essentially building in like almost a 5-week delay, 5 or 6 week delay from first discussion to business voting and some of these things like borough property. So I think we should not necessarily as soon as possible, but I think we should see if we can move people's availability in the month to before the agenda setting meeting where possible.
Well, the initial thought with this was we'd get to see how it was going. We're now here on 4, and I understand what you're saying. So if you have concerns, would you please let Mr. Abrams know? And then maybe we can work something out that's better for everybody. Because I get what you mean.
The other piece that I would, in having done these, is that sometimes there is a 4 to 5 week gap. But unless it's something that is time sensitive, at which point we can pull it up at any time, and we've allowed for voting during this meeting and the regular business meeting, or we call a special meeting. Government unfortunately doesn't move quickly because this is giving committees time to hash things out. And if you realistically to move it before the agenda meeting would actually be to move it to the end of the month prior. So we'd then be cramming all of our meetings in the 4th week of the month because our agenda meeting is the first Tuesday of the month. So everything's going to be slightly off cycle, but it all catches up with each other in the end.
So this meeting then is actually for not this upcoming business meeting, but the next month.
Actually, it's for the meeting for the business meeting in 2 weeks, and that's where we only have a couple of motions that were previously discussed in committee.
The committees that we're meeting for next week are for the next cycle.
Are for May,
So
correct?
that's the one that's out of place for me.
Right, and it will forever be that way because of the dates that were chosen. So yes, they could be moved, absolutely.
If it helps,
But let's,
excuse me.
yeah.
Sorry. May I?
Any suggestions, please send them to Mr. Abrams and we'll try to work something out. Anybody else?
No, I was just going to clarify something. Frankly, it's all in order. You're meeting about a month ahead. The only one that kind of goes really fast is Ops and Policies happens to meet right before this agenda meeting. So yeah, month to meet, hash things out, and then so if it wasn't Ops and Policies meeting today, it wouldn't be out of kilter. And as President Council said, pass your thoughts on.
Keep it for 6 months and then revisit.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, then I move to adjourn the meeting. Are there any objections? Okay. Meeting is adjourned.